When you're a kid and when things are fine, you're traveling, you're going to school, you're having a normal life like any other kid. You dream of big things. But then when the war started, all of a sudden you don't see any airplanes crossing the sky. All of a sudden there's nothing. There's just basically you're like in a little bubble. You're like in a jail. You know what I mean? We couldn't leave the country. We couldn't leave with our family and friends who lived abroad. So one thing for me was to every time when I would see an airplane pass the sky, I would make a wish and I would wish for it to take me to the country where it was going.
That is Tee and Nena, today's guests, who talk about what it was like growing up in Serbia, then known as Yugoslavia, experiencing war, economic sanctions, and bombings. And today they share how they were able to escape and fulfill their dream of world travel through jobs in the aviation industry. And after many, many years as senior flight attendants who have spent nearly 20,000 hours on a plane, they've flown around the world 400 times. You know they have some insanely valuable advice to share that will help you stay safe and healthy on every plane trip you take, along with things you should definitely not do.
And this is a big no. It's actually a very dangerous moment.
And as a traveler, you're going to want to stick around to hear these tips, trust me. Also, you're going to hear about the crazy serendipitous story behind how they met, advice for introverts in a profession or aspiring to be in one that requires you to put yourself out there. Of course, plenty of wild passenger stories, including the worst accidentally I left something behind on the plane story I've ever heard, a memorable celebrity encounter, some medical emergency tales, and I had to ask, do people actually try to do the Mile High Club thing? Plus, they also share some nightmare passenger stories like this one.
So now, as I'm standing there, you see another passenger hitting the other one behind him. And we have a situation, you know.
Are you ready for this? Because it's time for takeoff. Bad airplane puns sold separately. Welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend.
You're listening to the Zero to Travel podcast, where we explore exciting travel-based work, lifestyle, and business opportunities, helping you to achieve your wildest travel dreams. And now your host, world wanderer and travel junkie, Jason Moore.
Hey there, it's Jason with ZeroToTravel.com. Welcome to the show, my friend. Thanks for hanging out, letting me bring a little travel into your ears today. This is the show to help you travel the world on your terms to fill your life with as much travel as you desire, no matter what your situation or experience. So excited to have the Skybabes on the show today, as they call themselves. Tee and Nena. Together, they have flown across the world over 400 times, and they visited 2/3 of this wonderful planet. So after 13 million miles packed in their suitcases, they know a thing or two about self-care on a plane, something we should all do, and of course, stories for miles. Pun intended. Sorry, I told you there was going to be some bad airplane puns in this show. I'm really excited to bring you this interview. I should mention as well something I didn't say at the top. Of course, there's some destination talk in here. I mean, they have visited 2/3 of the planet, so we have to get some of their tips for places to stay. And a subject that came up that I don't think has ever come up in hundreds of Zero to Travel podcast episodes. And come on, don't pretend like you've never been there before. I'll tell you about that in a moment. First, a quick thanks to The North Face for supporting today's show. It's more than a jacket. It's the calling to get out there and explore. I had a North Face jacket with me on many adventures all over the world, trekking in Patagonia, skiing in various places, climbing mountains. And the thing I love about the North Face is they're highly insulated, warm, breathable, less sweat, and very durable, so great for any activity. And of course, athlete tested, expedition proven. All of these jackets are tested by the most elite athletes in the most extreme conditions before they even roll them out. So you know they're going to keep you warm and dry. You know it's not going to get in the way of you having the ability to make those memories you want to make outside this season. I know this winter I want to do some Nordic skiing with my kids. I want to do some downhill skiing, sledding, hiking, all that good stuff. And of course, staying warm and dry allows you to make those memories outside this season. So find your next fleece, parka, or winter jacket in store or at thenorthface.com. That's thenorthface.com. When you're wearing the North Face, it's more than a jacket. Now, if you're looking to simplify your shopping and maximize your rewards, listen up, because the last thing you need is a bunch of store-branded cards. What if you could earn more, like up to 6% cash back, but with one card at your favorite stores? Well, the folks at U.S. Bank are on it. Check out the U.S. Bank Shopper Cash Rewards Visa Signature Card. It can earn you up to 6% cash back. 6%! Check out usbank.com/shopper to learn more. It's easy. Just grab your shopping list and shop 2 of your favorite retailers for up to 6% cash back. And you can change your 2 selections every quarter. I'm talking 24 different big name retailers like Amazon, Walmart, and Target. That would be cool enough, but this card also can earn you up to $250 cash back after you spend $2,000 within the first 120 days of opening your account. You also earn up to 3% cash back from your choice of one everyday category like gas and EV charging stations, bills and utilities, or wholesale clubs. Plus, you'll earn 1.5% cash back on all other eligible purchases. You deserve premium rewards, and the U.S. Bank Shopper Cash Rewards Card is here for you. Learn more at usbank.com/shopper and start earning. Limited time offer. The creditor and issuer of this card is U.S. Bank National Association, pursuant to a license from Visa USA Inc. Some restrictions may apply. Okay, the reason why I say don't pretend like you've never been there before is because we're talking about farting on a plane. I said it. It does come up, and you'll hear their take on it. It's a natural part of getting sky high, if you will. What do you do in that situation? Well, that's for you to know, and for just you to know, I guess. I was going to say for others to find out, but that really depends on which way you go. All right. Enough about that. This is a fun one. Hope you enjoy it, and stick around on the back end. I will share a little airplane fact, something I didn't know, and something that was not that surprising, I guess, in practicality, but yeah, just an interesting fact I didn't know. You might find it of interest as well. Plus a funny quote from one of the best comedies of all time. Stick around for that. Now enjoy this conversation. I'll see you on the other side, my friend.
Emirates, flight 4322 to Auckland via Singapore. Boarding now at gate number 13.
That would have been funny. And if we start doing this whole thing and then we forget to hit record after all that. Well, no matter how long you've been doing something, you still make mistakes, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure you have a few stories about that from your experience in the aviation industry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you never make any mistakes anymore, right?
No, we do, of course.
No, but in aviation, you try not to make mistakes because it's a pretty well organized environment. So that's why there's so many rules.
Yeah, hopefully nobody makes a safety mistake, but all the other mistakes.
Yeah,
can be rectified, but
yes,
But SOPs in aviation are much more clear and much more respected because of limited resources, time, everything. So you have to respect them. But yes, as you said, of course, if it's safety and security, always say safety and security, then that's fatal. Others, like service-wise and other things, that's manageable.
Yeah. Well, I think you have a lot of advice to share today, so I'm going to give you a little introduction here, if you don't mind, because I'm sitting here with T. Excuse me. I was going to say Nina and Tay. It's T and Nena.
Yes.
Sorry. My guests today have 20 years of experience in the aviation industry as senior flight attendants and recruiters for a prestigious international airline. They've flown across the world 400 times, spent nearly 20,000 hours on a plane as flight attendants. And today they're going to help us learn how to take care of ourselves on the plane. We're going to talk about their book, Call Me Skybabe, the unfiltered, laugh out loud, empowering guide to finding your way to health, love, and joy while flying, and much more. So T and Nena, welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast.
Thank you so much.
I'm rolling out the red carpet, proverbially. Yes. So where do you live respective to each other?
We are 40 kilometers away, but we're both in Dubai. in United Arab Emirates in the Middle East.
Okay. And
Yeah.
we may get to how you ended up there on your life journey. But one of the things we got to talk about before, and I wanted to start with how you guys met, because that was a really interesting story. I want people to hear how that
Mhm.
happened.
Yeah. Do you want us to say first why we moved to Dubai, and then from there maybe it will be.
Yeah, I mean, if you think that's the way to go, it's your story. I'll let you tell it.
T, do you want to start? You came here first.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you. I'm just a little bit older as well, so thanks for that. Yeah, well, for me, straight after university, I decided to find a job as a flight attendant, and not that it was actually a plan. It was somewhat of a dream when I was a kid. When I was 9 years old, I wrote an essay for school, where I said that I wanted to be a flight attendant and fly the whole world. My godmother was also a flight attendant, so I grew up with her stories and seeing her put on the uniform and get ready to go to Australia for 21 days, or to all different parts of the world, and it was so incredibly amazing for me to learn that as a young kid. So when the opportunity opened up, I said yes, and I decided to come to Dubai. It was brand new for me. I was very young. I was quite inexperienced. Even though I traveled before, it was still a new thing. You leave your family behind. You leave all your friends, everything that you've known your whole life. It's like a blank page. So there you go. And it's like, somebody throws you in a jungle and says, okay, find water, find food, get out of there. So that's pretty similar. Yeah. So that's how it all started for me. Nena, you want to share your story?
Yeah. Well, I also applied to be a flight attendant, but my story is somehow different because I never dreamt of being a flight attendant, and it just happened so that I found out about the company coming to our city, and they had open spaces for flight attendants, and I saw it as an opportunity as well to travel. I always wanted to travel, but I never liked the job itself. I also was in that moment in life situation where I felt I wanted to escape, so for me that was also a way to escape from various things at that time. But as T said, it was quite a difficult experience at the beginning, especially because we both came from a completely different environment. When you look at it, climate, culture, religion, it's very, very, very different. So we came to the desert that since then changed so much, and Dubai, where we live, has been. I mean, it's amazing to see what has Dubai grown into now and the changes it has passed. It was challenging, but we could see these transformations throughout the years, and it has been, I think, better and better. Yeah.
T, I love to hear that you as a 9-year-old, I just love that picture, a 9-year-old writing an essay on what you want to do. And then, it's not every childhood dream that comes true in that way, like literally manifesting that at 9 years old is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true.
I wanted to hear from both of you. Well, Nena, about the sort of like wanting to escape. Can you talk about that and where you grew up and how that sort of plays into your career choice?
Definitely. And I'm sure T will be very happy to add a few things. So we grew up in a country where in a small country in Europe called Serbia. At that time, it was Yugoslavia. Now we don't have Yugoslavia anymore. That country fell apart. Yeah, I wouldn't say fortunately or unfortunately, it just happened so. So now we have different countries instead of that one. Throughout our childhood, we both have experienced war, economic sanctions, bombing in our city. So it was traumatic. We felt the consequences of those wars happening in the area, not in the city itself. But we have grown with that, and it was just tough. So as T was saying, she was traveling with her family. I traveled with my family until the age of 8, 9, and then everything stopped and everything froze. And I just wanted to see the world, and I wanted to go out of my country and see other places. But when I said escape, I was not only referring to that situation in the country itself, and how I felt limited and not being able to do what I wanted with my life, but generally had some personal maybe problems in family, and I just didn't feel, I felt it was time for me to go. I don't know how I would explain it better. I also loved languages and still do, like tea, and that's a very a unique thing that we both studied Japanese, and that's also very unusual for the country we're from. And there's only one school, now two actually, that studied that language in Serbia. So it's quite unusual. And we were at the same classroom, but at that time we didn't know each other when we were in the same school. She's 3 years older than me, so we were using the same classroom, but not at the same time. Obviously, if we were in the same class, we would have known each other. So that's what I was referring to when I said escape. Yes, we come from that background, but I know T has a lot to add onto that because she's very passionate about that. Do you want to say something, T?
Well, yeah, Nena's right. I mean, escape was one of the things for me as well as I grew older. You know, when you're a kid and when things are fine, you're traveling, you're going to school, you're having a normal life like any other kid. You know, you dream of big things. But then when the war started, you know, all of a sudden you don't see any airplanes crossing the sky. All of a sudden there's nothing. There's just basically you're like in a little bubble that you're like in a jail. You know what I mean? We couldn't leave the country. We couldn't meet with our family and friends who lived abroad. So one thing for me was to, every time when I would see an airplane pass the sky, I would make a wish, and I would wish for it to take me to the country where it was going. So when the plane stopped flying over our country, it was like a big, it was like a dream that crashed. You know, something that didn't come true. But after the war, when things changed, it was a way for me to also just say, "This is it. I'm leaving. I have to." As you said, manifest my dream. I have to make this happen, and that's how.
And find a way,
and find a way, exactly.
We didn't know how we would travel. I know I had certainty that I would see the world. And when we say that, I don't think both of us had dreams of seeing one country and two countries in just vicinity of our country. It was just like the whole world. And we just wanted to explore. And I just felt like I'm going to live my life, and I want to travel, and I just want to see more of it. I have one life to live, and this is how I still think. I think we both do, right? So yeah.
And also, as Nena said, Japanese, you know, when I was in 7th grade, I remember I was reading a book about a Japanese girl, and I thought, oh, that's such an interesting country, such a wonderful language. And when it was time for me to go to high school, I said, okay, let me see. Yes, Japanese, the farthest away as possible. You know, let me try it. And I definitely want to go there someday. And I did, honestly. I mean, we both did, and it was we both have really interesting stories how we managed to get to Japan. You know, it's a dream come true, definitely.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more of that. So at that time, when things settled down with the war, I'm sure it was of course a process. It wasn't just like overnight all of a sudden. Around how old were you? And I guess I'm wondering, was that the consensus among your peer group, or a lot of people looking to get out of that situation, or what was it like? What were the conversations like then with your friends?
Well, definitely not. Maybe older people, the generation that was a bit older than us. Me, actually, Nena was still much younger than me at the time. When the war finished, I was still
same age.
I was still at the university. So for me, it was like the moment I get my diploma, I'm out of here. But at one point in Serbia, 300,000 people left the country, and mainly educated people, doctors, lawyers, nurses, engineers. There were so many young people that left. So it's kind of, if you think about it, it's sad actually, for a country to lose so many young brains and minds. But it was just the reality of the whole situation.
Do you think that travel was one of the ways to sort of process the trauma of the war? or maybe just like an opportunity to have some mental space to process, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so, but I don't think that was. I think it was subconscious, like subconsciously there as for sure. Because it's when you travel, you learn so much about other people, right? And you learn so much about yourself. And then sometimes, the puzzle gets you get those pieces of the puzzle that you were missing. And when you're in your country, and I think this is very, very important for everybody who hasn't been traveling much or who has, I think there's a big, big difference between people most of the time, not all the time, that once you leave your country and you travel a lot or you live out of your country, you can see the world with different eyes. You can accept people in different way. You can understand them and accept them. You can get those pieces, as I said, in the puzzle, and then you can see the bigger picture. Because when you're in your limits of your boundaries of your countries, physically and mentally, like you cannot, your mindset and your mind is not as open most of the time. I'm not saying everybody is like that, but to me personally, travel has been that. It opened my mind. It opened new possibilities of ways of thinking and accepting people who I thought I even hated because they were involved in the war that I was part in, or I felt consequences from. So when I traveled, I started understanding different people are people wherever they are from. I know, T will say, and she will probably add how, politics and government, and it's all about us seeing each other as humans. And no matter where you're from, I know it maybe sounds like utopistic, or it doesn't sound so realistic, but to me it actually is. I mean, so many people who are so different from me, but I don't want to see them from with their origin and color, and the way like their eyes are, the way their physiognomy is different from mine. Like when you look from high, you feel their hearts. We're the same. And this is the most beautiful part of traveling for me, getting to know different people and realizing that we're actually the same. And they can be anywhere in the world. Like it doesn't really matter if they're from Indonesia, or they're from Alaska, or they're from I don't know, any part of the world, Africa, like doesn't matter. So it did help me for traumas to understand the context better, and to understand. I mean, I will never justify wars. I don't think that, but to forgive, maybe to accept, and to see things differently. Yeah.
You were finding your own missing puzzle pieces, to use your words. One of them is trying to find a way to
get to know myself, and to understand the world itself, and how and the people in it. So we are not born with hatred. I'm not saying anything new, but it's true. We are not born. We are taught to hate each other, but you can see that everywhere. You can feel it. But once you really open up your eyes, your heart, your mind, you see people as they are, like different eyes. And traveling really, really helps. Really, that's why we want to inspire people with our book and with our personal stories, by doing what we're doing, like to understand that we have this beautiful planet with amazing countries, amazing cultures, amazing places, nature, and species and animal, and so many beautiful things. It's just so, like, we need to see all of these things and learn.
Yeah, I do want to talk about some destinations later, and of course get some flying advice. But getting back to this Japanese class that you were both sitting in, where you didn't know each other, and studying Japanese in Serbia, like every Serbian, right?
Yeah.
Studying Japanese. pretty standard, really.
As Japanese would say, "Hi, so this. Hi, so this."
Yeah, like, not knowing each other, but then somehow you met later. Where were you when you met? And can you please share that story? Because you didn't meet in that class, so the energetic universe was swirling around, and at some point needing to bring you two together, it sounds like. I don't know.
Yeah
definitely.
Go ahead.
Well, it was we actually met when we were flying. It was this flight when we met was toward the end of my flying career, but Nena has just joined and she was, brand new, enthusiastic, full of questions.
Let me take you under my wing, literally. Sorry
yes.
for the pun. I had to do it.
But Nena's laughing because I said she's full of questions. She's still like that, question after question, but good.
Surprise.
So yeah. So we were we started talking, and from I think 15 years from then, right, we became
we're still
really
talking.
good friends. We're still talking, yeah. And then later on we actually realized that she went to kindergarten with my younger brother, that we actually lived in a very close, in a similar part of town, quite close to, we were close to each other, but we never knew that. So yeah, that's how we met, and it was destined to happen,
But what you didn't mention, it's I think very interesting, is that she was the most senior, I was the most junior, so I think it was my second flight ever flying, and it was the shortest flight ever in our all of the flights we had in the company. So it was to Muscat, to Oman, and also her father worked in Oman, so it's one more interesting thing. So during that flight, you literally have no time to talk to people, let alone be friends or become friends. So I don't know how we connected. I think it was more of a small conversation, short conversation in a shuttle bus that took us to the airplane. We say aircraft all the time. When we fly attendants, we say aircraft. So and that was the time when we spoke, I think. Other than that, you have no time to breathe, eat, anything. Like that flight just flies. Passes so quickly. 45 minutes or less. So
yeah, you could have not spoken. You could have missed each other, crossed paths again, and then who knows? You 15 years later, maybe you meet, maybe you don't. But now you've written a book together, and clearly you've become close. How has your relationship evolved from that moment to now? Like, if you guys have written a book together, obviously you must have had a lot of time together as friends, or
definitely, yeah.
Jason is very detailed. I like it. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to hear a little bit about
lots of probing, which is good.
Yeah, it's my job.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're actually really, really good friends. We're like soul sisters, and we still travel together. I'm still the one who always gets to the airport on time. She's always the chill one who comes with the coffee and says, "Come on, don't worry, we'll be on time." I'm the one tapping my foot and saying, "Okay, let's check in." But
I'm with T here. Sorry, I like to get to the airport early. I can,
but
just
she always
relax.
makes it. That's the thing. She's so relaxed.
Jason, I'm T in any other relationship with any other friend. I'm the T. I'm T. But here with her, I'm me. I'm Nena.
She knows.
I see.
Yeah,
okay, you get to let go of that responsibility. She's in charge.
Yeah. But we're so different in so many ways, but we're so alike as well. It's that I think that's why our friendship is so strong and continuing for so many years.
I have to say, T is, we're much different. So T is a big introvert. You would notice I'm an extrovert. So it took time for her to also open up in her own way. And I think I allowed that time, and I'm really happy, because it was also for me a journey of getting to know somebody so different from me, and to accept that it's not that, she doesn't want to speak and she's closed and she's avoiding, or it's just her own way. And I think she opened up, and I didn't tell you, I think she opened up, the whole new world to me of introverts. And I think their world is so full of imagination. So it's so interesting, and I appreciate it much more, and I appreciate her, and I got to know her much better, obviously, but it took us a long time. It took me a lot of time to get to know her, and for her to open up. Am I right, See?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, we have strong foundation, and we really she's so much in my world.
Well, thank you for that. And the same here. But Jason, what they say for introverts have only a few friends, and if you are their friend, if it means that you're really the world to them. So yeah, it really means a lot. Our friendship is so important to me.
Let's get some advice for introverts, because I think this can be a challenge. And of course, what I'm talking about, I guess, is the fact that many professions out there are going to require some form of putting yourself out there, right? And when it comes to your profession, being a flight attendant, you're dealing with hundreds of people. You are having to do all the things that may or may not be against your nature, depending on who you are and how you embrace yourself as an introvert. But either way, I guess the basic definition, right, is like extroverts, they get energy from other people, and introverts, like being around too many people kind of like drains your energy in some ways. That's like the very basic definition. Now we all know there's shades of gray, and there's, probably all of us are a bit of both, but I just thought that it would be cool to hear how you managed a job that's so forward facing as an introvert, and what advice you might have for others that have that kind of job, or maybe they want to get into some profession where they put themselves out there a little more in a way that they're like, oh, am I going to just be drained, or is that going to be fun for me?
That's an excellent question.
Yes, and we actually have a whole chapter about this in our book, but it's actually an excellent question, honestly, because I'll just paint a little picture here. Just imagine you are starting a new career. Okay, you're getting on that plane that has 400 people in economy section, coach, and you have to serve them meals or drinks or whatever, and you are starting from the beginning of the cabin, because your senior wants you to actually open up and meet people and experience the joy of being a flight attendant from your first flight. And honestly, I was petrified, completely petrified. And we have curtains in the galley that we open when we do the service, and then we can close them when we prepare everything.
And galley is the kitchen on the aircraft.
Yeah, right,
galley is
right.
the kitchen. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when the curtains opened, it was showtime. But for me, I literally couldn't hear what people were saying, because my heart was so loud, banging in my chest. So you can imagine how difficult that is. But from that moment on, honestly, it was actually a good thing that senior did to me, because she thought, this would help me, which it did. And every time I would go on a flight, I would, when I put my uniform on, it was the mindset that I had. Okay, this is it. I'm going to work, I'm smiling, I'm helping people, I'm being really open and friendly. And yeah, it comes with a price. The moment you get into your hotel room, you close the door and you can't see anyone. So you need time to recharge. And it's of course, it's not just about recharging, but it's a very important, it's a big deal when you need your time, and when you deal with hundreds of people on a daily basis. So I mean, Nena will tell you probably similar things, because it's even if you're an extrovert and in between, it's very draining. It's a draining job from many perspectives. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's about the recharging.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You couldn't have given a better question to T, because I think this is her, like, you see, if she spoke like this, that means she's really comfortable and safe,
Okay, that's
and good. I could really picture her like that, her first flight. I mean, I am extroverted, but I'm also shy in some ways, so I have to feel comfortable. I need my time. But once I get there, then I don't have these challenges. But for sure, for any kind of person, this job can be so draining. So one example is that I went, because you see so many people on daily basis, you talk to so many people, especially if you're senior, then you have to, if you're doing boarding, let's say you're at the door and you have to look at every person who enters the aircraft. You have to, this is what usually people or passengers don't notice, but we have to scan you from top to bottom, see if you're maybe drunk, if you smell of alcohol, there's some safety things and security things that we always look at, but you don't know as a passenger. And
now we know.
Also, now there are a few things I'm not sure how many I should go, there's so many details. And then you have to look at, you have to look how they're moving, how they're talking, if they're and then pronouncing their name, look at their eyes, and it's a lot of work in a short period of time. So you feel like, you're constantly surrounded by so many people. You're as if you're constantly on a stage, and everybody's looking at you, because they are. So when you do the demonstration, which we didn't do because we had the video, but if you can you imagine just being there and so many eyes all the time at you, it can be really tough sometimes. So you do need time to, recharge and, get your energy back. And sometimes you really don't want anybody around you. You just want silence. You don't want people. Or you're a people's person. Yeah.
Well, I think we can all agree that even though being uncomfortable is not comfortable, that at the time, getting into uncomfortable situations expands your comfort zone, of course. And, in this case for you guys, it sounds like it's just great that, it's for anybody listening. It's like, if you want to pursue a certain thing or you're on a certain track and there's certain parts of it like that scare you, well, you just have to kind of sometimes get out there and work through it, because it sounds like your dream to travel supersedes your fear of getting in front of people. You're like, well, I'm going to have to do this and it's not super comfortable, but I get to see the world and this is a cool job and this is what I want to do. So yeah, I guess it's just how you weigh things, right? I don't know.
Yeah, completely right. You're completely right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, we want to hear some passenger stories. Some nightmare passenger stories, because those are the fun ones.
Oh my God. How much time do we have?
There must be one that just jumps to your head like, oh my gosh, is this even really happening? Is this person like kidding me right now?
But that's why we wrote a book, because we had so many stories to tell.
We'll share. Yeah. Call Me Skybabe is the book. We'll link to it, but you can share a story from there. I loved, by the way, that I think it spoke a lot about who you both are, that you started the first chapter with a story about holding in a fart, right?
Yes. Can you don't say our secret?
I was like, these are my girls. This is great. They're not holding back at all.
Oh God.
So you can see how relaxed we are now about the profession after so many years.
Yeah, bloating is such a thing that everybody bloats, like especially that high in the air, but nobody talks about it. So you're like, okay, this happens every flight. Let's talk about it. Let's just write it. And I remember, you could guess who wrote that story, but so yes, we were very raw in our stories. I don't know how much you read, but we have so many experiences, so many different stories. T, did you have anything on your mind? Do you want to start, or you want me to go?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Whatever.
Go.
Yeah.
Say one of the interesting. Do you have Jason? Do you want something sad? Do you want something happy? You want something or anything?
Oh, just anything that comes to mind.
Yeah, okay. Well, cool. Since we have several stories where we talk about stress and handling difficult passengers, I will share a story that we didn't mention in the book. I was actually senior on the flight, and it was a night flight. We were flying to Australia. Beautiful, beautiful starry skies. It's just it's a dream flight. Everyone's asleep. Crew are out and about. You don't know where they are, most of them, because it's a night flight. But I'm managing finding them in different areas. And at one point, I'm just making a round through the cabin to make sure that all passengers are fine. And I see two passengers not arguing, but like whispering. You can tell that there's something wrong. So I look at the situation. I'm like, okay, gentlemen, what's going on? And I find out that the person who was sitting behind actually put his feet on the other person's seat. So they were smelly, and it was a very bad situation. And all of a sudden, it's a fight. So now, as I'm standing there, you see another passenger hitting the other one behind him, and we have a situation, And you can imagine, as I said, night flight, everyone's asleep. It's beautiful. It's peaceful. You're just counting the hours until landing. But of course, now there's a problem. Now the captain is involved. Other crew are involved. I have to call a mail calling to help me because the other passenger was not cooperating. He was actually being disruptive, and it's a whole new situation, So you can never predict in aviation. You have you're thinking, oh, I'm just going on a 40-minute flight. I'm coming back in 2-3 hours. I'll be fine. Get back with my family. But God forbid something happens. You have a rejected takeoff or something happens. It's very unpredictable. That's why we have so many rules. And as Nena said, that's why all these procedures are there written for us to follow and to be ready in case something goes wrong. So to go back to my passenger, they actually started fighting over me. So I was actually standing in the middle. Luckily, I wasn't hurt, but I heard some really, really bad words. They called me different names, and of course, we had to offload them as when we landed, because we had to land. Sorry, we landed in Singapore. From Singapore, we were going to Australia. So it was, we had a stop, and we had to offload the passengers because they were obviously, and not just that, they were hurting each other. They were actually destroying company's property. The seats were actually ripped out. So not the whole seat, but the cushion, the in-flight entertainment system, the little TV. Everything was ruined, and the guy was actually pretty strong. I don't know how he managed to do that, but luckily on that flight I had really great set of crew. We were all assertive, and we followed the procedures, but we also followed our minds and our hearts. You can't just how can I say, you can't be in that situation fully, in a sense, like you can't be emotional, but at the same time, you have to think about everyone else that is around you. People pay so much money to travel and to have a peaceful flight. So you can't let, that situation escalate.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I mean, this is just one of probably thousands of examples that you all have from your time flying. So, well, I am going to have to ask you how we can take care of our flight attendants better, because y'all deserve that. Y'all deserve that. Like I remember being on a flight from Mexico, and I got food poisoning on the way to the airport, and they were so sweet because I was freezing and in the bathroom like every 10 minutes and felt terrible. And they turned the temperature of the whole plane up just for me. I didn't even say anything, but it was really, really nice. And I was, I wish I was able to send them a thank you letter or something. I should have tracked them down somehow. Do people actually try to do the Mile High Club thing? Have you caught anybody?
Oh, yes.
I know they do, of course, but have they done it on your flight?
Oh, yeah, 3 times on my flight. Yeah.
Yeah. And
what do we do? Is that your question?
Okay, well, just one thing. Once it was the honeymooners, they were coming back from Mauritius. Okay, and I said, okay, you know what? It's fine. I'm not going to say anything. But twice, it was. It's a difficult situation because one of these stories went live, and it was talked about in the newspaper, so I'm not going to mention it, but it was on one of my flights, and it was pretty bad because it wasn't just one person, 2 people that were involved. So
really, I don't know this one. Yes. Second book coming.
There was an orgy on your plane.
Yeah, and
I honestly didn't think I was going to have to use the word orgy in this interview.
But you know what?
The funny thing is that it's always me who's there. But we always say that how can somebody?
Is it funny?
No, how can somebody have do these things in an airplane bathroom when they're so disgustingly dirty? No, but then at the same time you think, but there are toilets that are actually designed for, by law you have to fit a wheelchair in, and they're quite bigger. So yeah, so there's plenty of space in there, and of course I was the one who was passing through to see that. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Are you giving us a tip there? There's plenty of space in that bathroom. So go over there.
Yeah, but I won't say which aircraft. Okay. People will know. Not every airplane has it.
There's a sign on the door. Yeah.
Let's get some advice on staying
Jason,
healthy.
before, can I interrupt you for a second? Because you asked us about a few experiences. I don't want to talk about all of them in details, but just to name a few, because I think they'll be very interesting, is that we both she had CPR that she had to perform on a passenger. So there was a passenger who was, so she did CPR. I organized a proposal, a marriage proposal on board. She said yes, thanks God. So I had panic attacks, epilepsy, suspected heart attack, cardiac arrest. Like, we had so many medical situations. Giving oxygen to passengers is something that's like So
Giving
like
out candy.
giving out candies. So because they faint, so fainting is very common. People don't know that. So I think it's interesting to know.
Because they're nervous or just stressed or didn't drink enough water or
all of
whatever.
all of that. Sometimes they're flyers who are afraid of flying. Sometimes people who are not feeling well, it's just lack of oxygen. There are different reasons. Some people who had asthma, they didn't have their, for example, medication with. I mean, it's very, very different. But the interesting thing is that, you're so limited with all the resources, with time, with space and all the resources, but you somehow manage it. You find a way. That's the beauty and the challenge of this job, I would say. It taught us so much, and we had so many beautiful experiences and difficult ones. But as Steve mentioned, it's people, for example, I remember mom who forgot her baby when she was disembarking, if you can imagine that.
Lost and found.
Lost and found on the seat. Then a passenger who didn't want to disembark, he was so drunk and he convinced himself that's the same plane which will take him from Dubai to Manchester. He was coming from Singapore, and it was like he didn't want to. You couldn't get him out of his seat, and he was so drunk and he wanted to stay in the seat. It's just like
it goes on and on and on. I'm not getting off this plane.
Yes, and then the whole set of crew has to wait. Like we had to wait until he gets off, and so on. So many different experiences. Also, beautiful people, artists, composers that I spoke to that flew with me. Of course, famous personalities, and that too.
Oh, so many famous personalities, but we can't talk about that.
No, you're never allowed. That's come on. That's always the bummer. That's always the line that follows that statement, right? It's like, we've had these celebrities on this thing and that, but we can't talk about it. Yeah. You can't tell a story using another name that rhymes with the person's name, so we know who they are, but you're not directly saying.
Or we can say something, but it's not. Do you want to mention any that you had? Or?
No, actually, I don't know. I could get in trouble.
You had Dad Schmidt on your flight? What did Dad Schmidt do in first class?
but I had a singer I loved when I was a child, and she was on my flights on New Year's, coming back from Seychelles. I can say her name because she was lovely, Janet Jackson. And I was just so, I talked to her. She was lovely to all of us. And I just had to tell her she was one of my favorite singers when I was a kid. And she was just lovely. It was a very, not short flight, actually. It was not a short flight, but it was a night flight. We spoke a little bit and she was coming back from Seychelles. So, and that was one of them, for example. That was a really nice encounter, but we don't bother them. I mean, it's, my personal experience is, you can see from, you don't go, they're people like us. They want their privacy. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes though with certain people because you recognize them and they're just, of course they're like us, but they're that person and they've done something that you think is really cool, and then you're like, oh boy, you start fanning out,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, if you decide to circle back and share any more juicy celebrity gossip, let us know, because we're all about that here on the Zero to Travel podcast. Juicy celebrity gossip is what we do here. Now, we'll get back to the interview in just a moment. This episode is brought to you by Intrepid Travel. What's on your 2023 bucket list? Well, make it happen on a small group tour with Intrepid Travel. You can get up to 25% off for a limited time. Save your spot on your dream trip. Now you can explore the sand dunes of the Moroccan Sahara. You can fuel yourself with a banh mi in Vietnam or cruise the blue waters of the Galapagos Islands. Choose from over 900 sustainable, locally led trips in over 120 countries. The cyber sale runs until December 2nd. Visit intrepidtravel.com to book. Intrepid Travel is a world leader in sustainable, experience-rich travel. They've been taking travelers to discover the world's most amazing places for more than 30 years. Their mission is to create positive change through the joy of travel. So check out the cyber sale now until December 2nd. You can book a small group tour up to 25% off for you there. Visit intrepidtravel.com to book. Intrepid Travel. Travel's back for good. Now, back to the show. I wanted to get your tips on the do's and don'ts of flying. And what I mean by that is, sometimes occasionally you see these articles where it's like I saw one recently, and one of the points was, oh, don't drink the tea on a plane because they like never clean out the inside of the hot water thing or whatever. And it's just like, are these things true? Like, I know every airline runs their thing different, but are there certain things in order to like sort of just stay healthy and kind of, and it's not like,
I'll tell you the truth.
Yeah. Let's just lay it on us. Like, give us the real deal here.
Yeah, we have a whole list. Tea, go ahead, start with your.
Okay, well, just that what you said about tea and coffee, the same, of course. I know for us it was whenever you're coming from the city where your hub, everything is clean, spotless, which is okay. But outstation, we can't really promise that they're all clean. So it's I would say to stay to be 100% sure, don't drink tea and coffee on the flight. That was actually a good.
Man, I mean, because I love coffee.
Yeah, but nothing will happen. I mean, it's 1 cup, 2 cups, but I think if you have this as a habit, no, because it's a reservoir, if you can imagine it. And even if it's from a hub or outstations, wherever it is, passengers don't know if it's hub. They don't think about that, right? They wouldn't be poisoned if they had that water. But what I wouldn't recommend is, for example, the water which some of the aircrafts have and some of the companies next to the toilet restroom. So there is like there is a small how would you call it, like
spout?
Water,
like a little
yes
spout?
yeah
I never actually seen that.
Yeah, well, we had on every aircraft, and it's really don't take that water.
Never drink that water.
Never drink that water. It's really even for if you're brushing your teeth, I wouldn't use that. I mean, if you don't have to.
And as we said, if you're nice to flight attendants, they will actually go out of their way to help you. So they will even give you a bottle of water and for free, whatever it is. Even if you have your own, one of the things that we actually recommend is to bring your own water bottle on the flight so you can fill it up. They will do it for you. And if you have a travel mug, yes, great. You can also put some hot water and bring your own tea bag. That's it. It's really easy. Yeah.
That's one of the advice. Like, it's really good, and it's helpful for them. They can always refill your bottle. Sometimes they won't give you a full bottle because there are many people, so they're not allowed to. But they will always refill it, and definitely that's like a rule. If you're nice to flight attendants, like with the waiters, like they will go out of the way, but don't be nasty to them, because also they can, they can strike back, and you don't even know. So it's I'm sure, like because we have so many different personalities on board. Like, I know if we have somebody who is past tense, Nena, I'm not doing this job anymore, but if we had somebody coming in super nice, we would definitely do our best and definitely go out our way. Like what they did with you, as you said, like you were not feeling well, and then you were just nice. They were just nice human being, nothing else. You don't have to, it's the way we speak to each other, the way the passengers talk to us, very small things, nothing major, but there's no need.
Wait, how do you strike back? Is it like, sorry, sir, we're out of pasta tonight?
You don't want
that's
to.
actually really cool. That's nice. Okay. Obviously, we actually had colleagues who had their own way of doing it, but I personally never did it. I never, even if the passenger went on my nerves or whatever, I never did anything to get back at them. But I know people who have different tricks, and they're actually nasty. They're not nice. So
we won't reveal them, I guess, unless
No,
you want to.
No.
Because we're all about flight attendant gossip here on Zero to Travel. Okay. What else?
So let's see.
Don't piss off the flight attendants. We got it.
Don't piss off the flight attendants. Yeah, of course. Bring your own water bottles, and also it's easy when you have your water or your tea next to you. You don't have to bother people all the time. Oh, can you give me a glass of water? So it's especially if you're watching a movie or reading a book, you have it next to you, and you're fine. You're enjoying your flight. You don't have to depend on somebody to bring you something.
And it's very important to hydrate yourself, especially if you have ULR flights, ultra long flights, right? So you forget sometimes because you maybe fall asleep or you just forget. You're just lazy to drink, and that's where it happens that you have these headaches, or you get like bloated and you don't feel well. Your jeans or whatever you have, it just feels so bad. and then you're like, oh, this flight is so bad. But it's actually so water, just water. I'm not talking about drinks in general, because alcohol cannot really, it doesn't affect you that well. Or like sugary drinks, not so much, but water is the best drink you can have when flying. And yes, you will go more frequently to the toilet, but it's better than, and that will make you move as well. So, one of the things is for true, like for real, like you need to move your joints, you need to move your body a little bit. So stand up and move, but be out of the way when it's service time. Be considerate. Don't be there in middle of the aisle when people are passing with the carts and trolleys, things like that. We forgot to write that in the list, but
and what Nena said about alcohol as well. Now that I can remember, most of the passengers who were disruptive, who caused some kind of problems, were actually intoxicated passengers. So I would advise, if you really need a drink, if it calms you down to fall asleep and go through the flight, that's fine, but don't overdo it. It's not good for you, and it won't make you feel better.
But interesting thing is that when you drink alcohol at that altitude, it hits you much faster than if than if you're on the than on your ground if you're on the ground. So you don't notice, and you would have 1 or 2, 3, 4 drinks, I don't know, but it actually hits much faster. Like, so we could see people getting drunk, easily.
If
so
you think about it, it's kind of surprising they serve alcohol on a plane, right?
Yes and no, but I think it's points. But it's point of attraction,
Yeah, it can lead to problems.
Oh yeah.
They should just serve joints. Then everybody will be like, what's up? Let me buy some more food. Yeah, food over here.
Oh, but fire. What about that? And smoke. That's big
no,
no.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
All right. So move around. Obviously, drink water. Avoid alcohol.
Bring your healthy snacks.
Healthy snacks. Okay.
Healthy snacks. We carry our food most of the time, but I think everybody who travels feels some kind of craving. I don't know. That's my impression. And at the moment you sit on that bus, train, or a plane, you feel like, I want to eat something. And then, just have some healthy snacks, something that, you can eat, because aircraft food is not really tasty, no matter which cabin it is. Yes, maybe it's better presented.
It's delicious.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Well, it could be delicious, but it comes with lots of different additives and stuff, a taste enhancer. So it's not very healthy.
It's not healthy. So it's good to have yours. I think it's always good to have that backup.
Well, I mean, the food side, because my wife got food poisoning from one of the meals on the way to America. It was terrible. Do you have any general, like, never eat the fish, or, is there anything like that, or not really?
There is about seafood. Shall we say that?
And actually, cockpit crew are not allowed to eat seafood because of that. Yeah, really? So there you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yes. So there's something that's if that's not allowed for them, then we can take it as a general rule. So they can eat fish, but not seafood. So that's more often to happen, like food poisoning. So yes, if pilots cannot eat them, that means that's maybe more likely to give you food poisoning, if we could say that. Yeah. So,
okay.
But other than
that, those are probably all the main ones, right?
Oh, we have so many, but we have the whole list. But I don't know if you want.
Well, I mean, any like sort of non-obvious ones, like I feel like the coffee and tea thing is a good example of something that, like, most people don't think about, but then mentioning it, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe I should bring my own hot water next time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tea, do you have anything, or you want me to?
Okay, let me see. Maybe if you really like watching movies on the plane, bring your own headphones. Not saying that those are not clean. I'm sure they get changed and everything frequently, but especially if you have noise canceling ones, they actually help because of the noise on the aircraft. Most of the time, we're not aware of the engine sound and everything around us. So it's a better experience, definitely, if you use your own headphones. And you can't hear passengers snoring, kids screaming, all the other things. So it does help you relax and have a better flight.
Okay,
cool.
Yeah.
I would say just maybe bring an extra set of like clothes, Why? Because it can happen that your luggage gets lost, which happened to me quite a few times. So something that you can neatly put in your trolley, in your cabin bag, and that you can use in case you need to use it. And maybe some essential medicines, especially if you need them, or you think you're prone to having headaches or, stomach ache or anything that, tissues, wet tissues, sanitizers, something that you can have as like your first aid kit, we would say. I think people forget that. We carry essential oils as well because it's smells so bad. So we fly so much. So I always just like sprinkle a little bit on my not blanket, on my
seat and pillow
seat and pillow. I bring a pillow. So things like that. I think that people can do a little things and that can really enhance their traveling experience and like make that flight pass more easily.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, something before the flight. I know many people, when you're traveling is flying actually stressful, and especially if you're traveling with kids. So you always have to be prepared if something happens. Do we have enough food? Do we have all the tickets? Do we have enough money? Whatever it is, clothes. So I would say check in online beforehand when you get to the airport. Get there on time. Don't be late, because even though there are delays, they will still check you on the correct time. Some people think, oh, okay, I have time. If that gate closes, or actually the check-in counter closes, they won't let you in, even if you're a first class passenger. And if you're already at the airport and the gate closes 25 minutes before departure, that's it. You have to stay back. You can board. So I would say just be aware, especially when people are transiting, they're tired, they change different time zones. It's even if you hear your name, you don't really realize it's you until somebody comes and tells you, look, this is your flight, we have to leave. So yeah, just that and take.
And one more practical tip for people who are traveling, which I think is not so common, is to put their name tag, contact details inside of the suitcase that's checked in. So because they can track you like that. Like if your suitcase gets lost and you had a name tag, but somehow maybe it's ripped off, they will never be able to, they will say, okay, you have the number, the size, the color, but if they have your contact details inside, then I think it's a really good tip. And I had lots of experiences with lost luggage. So I think it can help people, your listeners, if they do that.
That's good. Thank you for all that. Is there any way that we can get free upgrades?
Oh, love this question. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
It depends on the company to company, right? It depends on their on the policy. So in our company, it was very strict. So ex-company, so it was very, very difficult to get a free upgrade, but it can happen. Like, yes, in many companies that happens, and then it's usually done according to if you're a frequent flyer, and then if you are, for example, in economy class and you already have miles, or you belong to this, I don't know, depending on a company, they call them different names, right? Frequent flyers. So they would first give you the priority of free upgrades. But I can speak from where we worked. It was very, very difficult. We wanted to do that so many times. We were asked to do that so many times, but we couldn't. As seniors, we couldn't. Yeah.
As a buddy of mine swears by like oftentimes he'll bring a bag of chocolates for the flight attendants to have.
Yeah.
Wow.
On the plane. just to be nice, not expecting anything out of it, but maybe something comes his way.
It can happen. Yeah. It can in some of the companies. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Of course, you want to treat your flight attendants good, but if there's any other advice around
that's true.
Go ahead.
but safety wise, let's talk about safety a little bit. Many passengers don't realize how I don't want to say dangerous, but when obviously takeoff and landing are the most dangerous phases of the flight, but in flight nothing can really happen. It's just that turbulence can hit anytime, unpredicted. So I would advise passengers to actually wear seatbelts, because even though they tell you that, honestly, I'm telling you from my own experience, because I was the one who was like, oh, no. The moment I see the seatbelt sign off, that's it. But it did happen a few times that it was quite serious. So I thought, especially if you're sleeping, you just don't want to risk anything, and it's better for your own safety. And also one of the things that really, really drove me wild when I was flying, the moment we land, passengers start, getting up to get their suitcases from the hatch racks, the overhead lockers, and this is a big no. It's just it's actually a very dangerous moment because you just landed. You're actually not even taxiing. You're still braking. So this is from so many perspectives. This is very dangerous, and number one for the passengers. So if you're one of those, if anybody's listening who does that, I would suggest
you don't get up in the middle of the landing. That's who does that?
But trust me,
every flight,
so many times we saw,
flight.
and people running to the toilet. The last few seconds before touchdown, it was just crazy.
Okay,
so.
that I might have done too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe not. Well, anyway. Yeah, if you're listening, don't stand up, please, and take your suitcase out of the middle. You have to go to the bathroom and hold it, I guess, for a few more minutes. No, I don't know if I've done it that close, but
can we give you one more tip when it comes to Nena? Nena actually mentioned, bringing your own first aid kit, like sanitizers and everything that goes with, because aircraft actually generally are not clean. They do get clean before the flight, but they're not sanitized all the time, even though they say they are. So I would advise, if you have tissues, just to clean your screen and clean your seat and handrests, and also to never put your suitcase on your hotel bed or at home. If you're packing, okay, most of the people put their suitcases on top of the bed and then they put their clothes in. But just imagine how dirty that suitcase is. Just like your shoes, wherever you go, God knows what those wheels, have seen. So that's one of the things that is actually it's a good tip, because many people don't think about this.
Yeah, appreciate all those. Thank you. Well, I mean, you have a world of experience, of travel experiences, I should say, to share. I wanted to hear what some of your highlights were in terms of destinations where you think maybe some people listening, some places that maybe they haven't thought of before. It's always nice to have a little destination. I know you've been gorilla trekking in Central Africa and some of these things. Yeah, talk about some of the things you've gotten to do, and maybe through that kind of stand out in terms of your experiences, and maybe through that we can get some recommendations.
Oh God, where do we start? Yeah,
a couple of things must have jumped to mind, right?
Yeah, well, now when you mentioned gorilla tracking in Central Africa, yes, we were together in Uganda. Was it last year, like 2021?
2021, right?
Yeah, 2021, February.
Yeah.
We went and we went gorilla tracking. We both wanted to see gorillas for a long time, so it was a very unique experience. Gorillas are endangered species, so for us it was so important. We really respect the environment, Mother Earth, and we really take care of those things. If I go into that topic, I won't stop. So we really wanted to go and see gorillas. There are less or around 1,500 gorillas in the whole world. These are mountain gorillas. So, and they're other than chimpanzees, most like the closest to our species genetically, 95% or 90 something percent. Yeah. So we were very curious and wanted to go there, and we went to the national forest, Windy National Park, and we had an amazing experience. I think it's one, lifetime experience for me, and I know for T for sure. So that's something that came up to my mind when you mentioned it. And T, you want to say a second one, and I can add something?
Okay, well, let me say Japan for sure. Japan is the destination that everyone has to see. It's so different, and people say, "Oh, I love it," or "I hate it." It's just it's so different. If you come from a western part of the world, it's just some of the things are difficult to understand. But if you're open and you want to accept and learn, there's so many things that will you'll fall in love with. Really, the people, the culture, the food, everything is just amazing. Yeah.
Must have been wonderful to go there the first time after studying the language and dreaming about it. What was it like to be there the first time?
Beautiful.
It was a dream come true. Yeah, definitely.
It was because it was like thinking, coming from where I am from or where we're from, and just getting there and to Japan and seeing what I wanted to see, the cherry blossom tree that I I was dreaming of, and listening to Japanese, and just seeing like being there for me was amazing. It was an amazing experience. And I mean, it's so different. I mean, Asia in general, I don't like when people refer to Asia as like a whole, because they're so different among themselves as countries, and they're so unique. And I mean, I still have so much to discover. I mean, I've been to many of them, but they're so different and so new still to me. And yeah, I have to go and explore. I would mention swimming with dolphins in Indian Ocean. I love Indian Ocean because it's warmer than the others, I would say. And I always wanted to swim with them in the ocean, in the open. And I did that quite a few times in Mauritius. So I was in Mauritius. I had a relationship there, so I was going there quite often. And then I was swimming with my boyfriend at the time, and we were, with the it couldn't be more romantic, dolphins and two of us. And also we went for an expedition of whales. It was not whale watching only, it was actually an expedition because he was into that. So for me, that was something, it was amazing. So if you go to Mauritius or if you go to Seychelles, but there are many other places in the world where you can, not Seychelles, Mauritius and South Africa, I think, and but I'm now referring to that area. You can go to those tours and see the dolphins in the wilds and also swim with them. Now I'm again in the ocean. Yes. I mean, if I'm not afraid. I understand some people are, but it's such a beautiful experience. I don't know. I just just when I think about it, I would do it again and again and again. It's amazing. Like when you see those creatures in front of you, next to you, and I learned not to touch them. I learned to respect their space. It's not just playing. Now. Before I was thinking swim with them in the pool, and I was just imagining touching dolphins, and I would still want to do that. But I learned that I need to respect them, and I would now never go to the swimming pool and pay for the entrance that's another whole subject and topic. But in the wild, the way we did it, also, I really I'm selected with the companies and how they work, and like they respect the environment. How do they use the engines? Do they scare them off? I mean, there are many details when you think about that underwater world, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in most of these countries, when you pay like for example, when we went to see the gorillas, part of the money actually goes into preservation, and to help the gorilla families to thrive, and it's actually a good way to help the locals there as well. And I wanted to mention one more destination. We talk about in our book, we talk about Rome in several chapters. It was, for me, it was one of the cities that I definitely wanted to see. And it's one of my top 5 cities in the world that I would say, if somebody gave me a ticket now and said, do you want to go to Rome? I would always say yes.
Okay, T, I know.
It's funny that in the book we talk about it's a love chapter, where we both had a very interesting experience, obviously in different times with different people, but yeah,
yes,
it's definitely a place to visit.
Making that distinction, thanks.
Yes. Have you been to Rome, Jason?
Yes.
Have you been to Rome? Yes, I mean, yeah. Italy is beautiful in general. Yes.
I know we're getting towards the end here. The book, why? I mean, it's a monumental effort to write a book. Why did you guys do it? How did you do it? Tell us about it. Let people know where to find it. All the good stuff.
Okay.
We'll link to it, of course, but yeah.
Okay, thanks. Well, we had for years, we had ideas of different ideas of what to do together. And writing was one of them. T is already an author. She has published her book. She's a romance novel author. She can say something more about it. But I was never into writing as much, but when COVID started and COVID lockdown started, we were locked in our houses, right? And I was on my own, T was with her family, and we spoke on daily basis. And then we said, okay, why don't we start writing about our experiences? And, we wanted to have this for ourselves because we had so many experiences that were so funny and sad and difficult and easy and just valuable experiences, and we didn't want to forget them. And we started writing, and the more we wrote, the more stories came, and they were just showing up, and then we were sharing this every day. So we would write every day from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We would come online. We would say, okay, start now. We were very disciplined, and I must say, and sometimes we wrote a little bit more, sometimes a little less, but we were consistent. And we had 3 times, like how many, T, like 3 times of the size of the book now? Like,
yeah, we had
material.
160,000 words, which is approximately 3 books. So we had to edit pretty heavily to put everything in one book.
Yeah. So we wrote about all these experiences, but it's then T, you want to continue, so I don't. But it.
Yeah. So we wrote about the experiences. Then after we actually wrote everything, we just let it sit on our desk, on our computer. So we didn't really visit it for a very long time. And then at one point we just thought, well, wait, we wanted to actually publish a book. So then we started meeting again over Zoom calls, and we started editing together and going through stories and laughing again and crying and, going through everything again. It's just, it was a fun process, but it definitely something that kept us sane during the lockdown. And an important thing to mention that just before the lockdown, we actually came back from Singapore. so we literally, took the last plane that came here, and it was a pretty difficult time, I'm sure, for the whole world, especially for travelers and people who like to explore the world. So that's how Call Me Skybabe was born, and it's an essential if you're traveling. You make sure you put it in your bag, take it with you. And where can listeners find the book? It's available on Amazon. It's actually worldwide. It's also available on most of the online sellers and online bookstores. So wherever you are in the world, I would say if it's an international, if you don't want to pay for shipping, Book Depository has free international shipping wherever you are in the world. So you can find it there. But for the listeners in the US, it's Amazon is I would say the easiest way to find it. Yeah.
And you said Barnes & Noble as well online.
Barnes & Noble as well. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But what's important to say about the book is that the book is written as we became I'm a health and fitness coach, and T's a life coach and an author. So this is our journey to a healthier and happier, more joyful life. And what we wanted to do is share that with people, with girls, sky babes, as we call them, who want to become flight attendants, who are currently flying as flight attendants, or who are retired, and also for the fourth, let's say, group of people who want to know more about the profession. We wanted to help them. So this is kind of a guide which also has powerful questions that they can answer, and we made a journal with the books that's also available, and that it can truly help them. It's something that there's some practical tips on how to overcome the challenges that we had, because I personally had many challenges with my health, and I resigned because I wanted to keep my health, and it's a very unhealthy job if you think about it. You don't have a routine of sleep, of food, of anything, social life, or no routine, and you still have to keep your body working, and you don't know the consequences in a few years, 10 years, 20. So you want to keep yourself healthy. So this is where we shared our stories and also the tips on how to overcome them. So that's why we say it's a guide. And we also demystify some of the misconceptions that people have about our job. It's so glamorous, or some people think it's only chicken and beef and we just go and we're a dolly trolley or however. So this is something that was very important for us, because it is a profession that's worth the respect. It's a profession that gave us so much, but it also took a lot. But I think I appreciated so much more once I resigned, and I really respect people who do it.
Yeah, that's like the best professions, right? Gives you a lot and takes a lot too, right?
That's very true. And I would just add one more thing for next time you fly, obviously, as Jason said, be nice to flight attendants, but just remember that in case something happens, you rely on them to to save your life. Yeah, and to stay safe. And also, we do so many things that, as Nena mentioned, especially during boarding, during the whole flight and after passengers leave, that nobody notices, from time management to, making sure that everything is fine, that you have, sometimes you just have a few minutes before everything has to be set up for takeoff, but people don't see it. People will still ask for water. People will faint. People will, have a heart attack, but you are the one who deals with that. And that's why, it's definitely great profession. Something if you want to try and do it, I would suggest, but obviously be ready for the risks and the challenges and everything that comes with it.
Well, I appreciate you both coming on and sharing your advice here and your stories, and just getting to have a chat with you. I feel like we have even more to dive, and we haven't gotten to the romance novels yet. That happened, but
oh yeah.
But I'll just remind people, call me Skybabe, the unfiltered, laugh out loud, empowering guide to finding your way to health, love, and joy while flying. And I love that it sounds like this project also brought you guys together and allowed you to relive some of your experiences, and sounds like a nice end cap in some ways to your career and all the years of experience that you had there. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing your 20 years of experience in the aviation industry and just your perspective on travel and everything that we got to chat about today. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you so much.
You had great questions. I love you're such an attentive listener, and you had great questions. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting us.
Take care.
Thank you.
There you have it. I want to thank Tee and Nena for stopping by the show. They are so kind, so sweet, generous with their time, and I just love that they were able to take a situation in their home country and find a way out to travel the world. So inspiring. And of course, the stories, some great stories, incredible expert tips. Check out their book. Leave the links to all of that in the show notes. Now, before I let you go, a couple things. First, a fun fact. I don't know if this is fun, but a fact about airplanes that I did not know. This one came from bestlifeonline.com, but I'm going to believe it's true. I didn't, validate it from 50 different websites, but it feels about right. And this fact is that the black box, the black box they always hunt for after a plane crashes, is not actually black in color, which makes sense. The black box is, quote, also known as the flight data recorder, is actually painted bright orange. The heat-resistant paint used to coat the box's exteriors comes in a highlighter orange hue, which also happens to make them easier to find in case of an accident, end quote. So there you go. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? Why would they paint it black and make it hard to find? So other fun facts on airplanes. Let's see, I'll pull another one out for you. Here's a bonus fun fact from this little list here. Again, not a fun fact. I don't know why I keep calling this fun. So they say the dirtiest place on the plane isn't the bathroom, and that the filthiest place on the plane is the tray table you're eating your meal off of. According to a study conducted by Travel Math, tray tables hosted 2,155 colony-forming bacterial units per square inch. In comparison, the button to flush the toilet has just 265 CFU in the same amount of space, end quote. This is all from this Best Life Online article. Anyway, I'll link to it in the show notes. You can check out some other facts if you're interested. That's a bit disturbing. I mean, I guess I better bring some bacterial wipes next time, a little anti-bac. Straighten that tray table situation out. Okay. Before I let you go, leave you with a quote from one of the all-time greatest comedy movies. Of course, Airplane, I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it, it's a 1980 parody film. It is hilarious. And it kind of, I believe, invented that genre of taking dialogue literally and using it to comic effect, let's say. So there's a little dialogue here I pulled out. So Rumac says, "You'd better tell the captain. We've got to land as soon as we can. This woman is to be gotten to a hospital." Elaine says, "A hospital? What is it?" Rumac says, "It's a big building with patients, but that's not important right now." Okay. I'm not an actor. I wish I could actually just insert that clip into the show, but I don't have those rights. If anybody listening has the rights to Airplane, I will go back and I will insert the actual audio from that. Or if you know how to do that, how do I get those rights? I don't know. I'm just a lowly independent podcaster here trying to just get along and entertain here. Anyway, hope you were entertained by this show. Hope I didn't include too many bad airplane puns for you as we bring this in for a soft, gentle landing. Have a wonderful day. Smile and make it a great one. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week. Peace and love to you and yours. Have a great day. Cheers.
This podcast has been brought to you by ZeroToTravel.com. Ideas and advice to make your travel dreams a reality.